Happy Halloween. My name is Larie Lewis, co owner of Burning House Productions, and I have the exciting conclusion of One Dark Night here for you. So we waited a day before we go back. We parked the black van under a willow tree. Wayne had made us drive the escape route from where we planned to grab her all the way to the root cellar under an abandoned house where we usually keep them until we are paid or until, well, the one time they didn't pay in time, Mikey said an example had to be made, and before I could stop him, blam, the dame was dead. We buried her in a markerless grave. The smell of her when she opened up still makes me a little sick to think about it, but I held my lunch. One dark night, we parked at 11:30 again. We got on all black and the windows are tinted. We all have our positions. Wayne drives as usual. Mikey's job was to sit in the back of the van and jump out and help me get the girl in the inside and take care of getting her under control while she was back there. I had the hardest job, but that's okay. I was built for it. At 6'3", 210 pounds, my job was to hide in the shadows until she walked by and then throw her in the van. We don't talk on go day. The brothers don't even bicker. We parked on a dark corner where it seemed fate blew the street light out. I waited there quietly, hulking in the dark. This was the most peace I ever felt, waiting in the dark to ruin someone else's. It was cold and brisk, but not cold enough to see my breath. I heard a rustle and froze, but it wasn't her. Probably just a bunny or a raccoon somewhere in the dark. Then I see her coming around the corner, headphones on, arms pumping, Papillon at the end of her leash, just like every other time. I step deeper into the shadows, even though I know she probably can't see me anyway. I glance over at the van, and it looks like a sleeping beast, just like every other car on the block. I was holding my breath. I could feel the excitement tightening my groin. Here she comes. Wait for that perfect moment. My time to shine. I grabbed her and she yelped from surprise and kicked violently in protest. I held the chloroform soaked rag over her mouth. She struggled for another moment, but then the struggle was over for the time being. Her little dog yelped and ran off into the dark. Mikey burst into action and we threw her in the back of the van, neither gracefully or gently. I snapped the picture. Mikey closed the door and I walked around to the passenger side and sat beside Wayne. We drove in silence. One of the rules is that we speak as little as possible around the investment. We don't want to have to kill her, but if she knows too much about us, she would have to die whether we got the ransom or not. 10 minutes later, we pull back into the abandoned house. Mikey and me take the dame down in the root cellar. It's a damp smelling room with one light bulb dangling from a cord in the ceiling. There's a card table with 3 chairs in the corner. We drop the chick on the floor in the corner furthest from the door. We hear feet after a while on the cellar steps, and it was Wayne. He shut and locked the door behind him. We all still had our ski masks on. We look at each other. One of the other rules is that we drop the ransom note off immediately. The shorter this whole ordeal lasts, the less messy it all is. We want to get the money and return the investment if possible all in 3 days. When me and Mikey brought the dame down here, Wayne took the ransom note and dropped it off in the mailbox at the residence we'd seen her go to, and then went and hid the van and switched to his car. It wasn't safe to keep the stolen van outside, even though we were pretty secluded. We were all sitting at the table, silently playing blackjack. Jogging Lady started moving and groaning. We all pulled our masks back on. She sat up and grabbed her arm. We must have somehow hurt her when we dropped her in the van or on the ground here. She looked around. Her eyes were wide and frightened. I always think frightened women are the most beautiful. Who are you? Where am I? What do you want? Her voice gives me butterflies in my chest, and no one speaks at first. She starts to cry, and I can see the panic in her eyes, and it's starting to take over my mind. That's when Wayne spoke. If your loved ones pay the ransom, then you will be home before you know it. We won't hurt you anymore than we have to. Now just sit there and shut up, and everyone will be home and safe in a few days. She begins to cry harder, and we leave her to her tears and go back to playing cards. Wayne's phone rings, and he heads to the door and takes the call. Her sobbing ceases for a moment and then picks up again. Wayne comes back and tells the broad to shut up and returns to his hand. About an hour goes by, right? She sniffles and whimpers a little, but is quiet mostly. She's sitting in the corner with her knees drawn up to her chest. Wayne's phone rings again. He gets up and heads to the door. When he gets to it and starts to open it, the crazy chicken, what I figures is an act of desperation, jumps up off the floor and flings herself towards the door. She tackles Wayne like a football player, and they fall out the door and to the entryway of the stairwell. There's a scuffle that I can't see. I'm on my way to help